We're just going to try and get you to move a little so that you can eventually move a lot. We're not going to do all that much, but what we do is going to be the start and the building block for the sessions to come. So start seated with your knees a little bit lower than your hips. So if you have to, you're going to lower your knees down by taking your feet slightly away. And your hands are on your lap and you're lengthening your spine. On an inhale, you wrap your hands over your knees, gazing down at your thighs, finding roundness. And then on an exhale, slide your hands to your hips, lifting your head and chest, finding extension. And you just notice if your body enjoys it or if it finds it painful or triggering. You know, you can feel if your spine is vulnerable or if there are areas which are maybe on high alert and there's a nervousness to movement. By doing it over and over again, you almost make way for your brain to say, oh, okay, I get you. It's not such a big deal. And then you get more confident in the movement. But at no point are you shrinking and collapsing. You're actually trying to keep yourself up and over your lap. And then you slide your right hand towards the hip and the left hand moves over the knee. And you just look as far to the right as you can and then move to the other side. So it's a rotation, but we're not trying to get any records. It's just a bit of rotation. Nothing more. There's no forced movement. No more than you would if you had to, drive your car. And again, you do it enough that it becomes okay and becomes comfortable. So now we move onto a surface. So if you were sitting on the edge of the bed, you're now going to crawl onto your bed. And the thing about the bed is that if your wrists are weak, you might find it's uncomfortable being over your hands. So either you move to knuckles or you take your fingers over the edge of the bed. Otherwise, you can do this on a mat on the floor. And so you'll now round up your spine, gazing down at your thighs, and then sink the spine to look forward. So how that looks side on is we'll have the hands under shoulders, knees under hips, and you round your spine up into flexion. And it's a long curve, not an acute curve. There's no bending at one or two segments. It's the entire spine. In fact, don't leave your neck behind. You must gaze between your thighs so that the neck forms part of the curve. And then you sink and lengthen to look forward. And here you imagine you plucking your tail off your bottom and your neck off your shoulders. And then you round back up again. Curve. And when you gaze forward, you extend a little, not a lot, but you try and pull the segments of your spine apart like you're stretching a spring. And round back up again. And so you're going to repeat that as if you're stretching the spring into roundness on either end, but you are trying to make space between the bones of your back. And once you've done it a few times, you can slowly sink back should your knees allow it. And it's not horrific for the knees. We need to have flexion in the knees, but if you've got a bit of a knee thing, you might want to put something under your bottom so you don't feel like you're dumping into the joints of the knees, should that be a problem for you. And then you reach your hands forward. Again, shoulders might prefer to be by your sides, but otherwise there's a lot to be garnished from this stretch on the sides of the shoulders. And rest your head. You breathe here and you siphon that air
because the knees are in your abdomen, even more side stretch happens through that inhale than it would if your knees weren't there. So I would not recommend opening too wide with your knees. So we're not trying to get our spine into extension here. This is not what we're after. We want the knees in the way so that they then trigger point whatever tightness is in the abdomen and forces you to breathe nicely into the sides. I really like it. Move your hands over to one side. You get to stretch there. And again, breathing air into the side body. And then move your hands over to the other side. And so you reach your arm long and your tailbone back. And you don't let your armpit flare open. You actually try to close down to square off your torso. And your head remains in between your arms. So be wary of overly or underly taking the head with you. It must be part of the rest of your spine. And then come back to center and up you come. For the last movement, you carefully lie down on your back. And so you might need a little cushion under your head if it feels like you're straining to get your head flat, especially if you have a stiff mid-back. But we're going to tuck and untuck your tail. And in doing so, feel how you get your natural curves back in your lumbar spine. You feel what it feels like. Might be a little bit uncomfortable, a bit of bone, feeling like, oh, wow, I'm not used to this pressure. But you don't push through it. You just feel it a little. Maybe don't press into that feeling too much. But over time, you want to make your brain aware that you're allowed to have a curve. And you're also allowed to use your tummy to flatten it. And you're allowed to have a curve. And then feel how the neck responds. For some of us, the neck responds so much because there's so much rigidity in our bodies. So we might need to then learn to have freer shoulders and more movement in the upper back. But this is just a starting point. And well done.